Hello and welcome to the Gear and Graith Workshop, where today you're not going to see my ugly mug. Instead I'm going to show you some of the reproductions that I make. Starting with this one here. So if you'll excuse the fingers. This is a reproduction of a bone belt buckle from grave 129 in Golden Lane, and that's in Dublin in Ireland. Now the burial itself is that of a woman. There aren't any other burial goods in there with her. It might be that there was some smaller copper alloy items like ringed pins or something like that that have either decayed or because the grave was partly disturbed, that maybe they've been brought to the surface and lost elsewhere, maybe discovered and then just not then reassociated with the burial after the fact. Certainly the pin on the buckle, this fella here, that didn't survive on the original. So the original as it stands doesn't have this, and it's got a little bit of damage towards the end. But elsewise, this is a pretty faithful reproduction. So we've got these lobes around the rectangular buckle and down the sides, and then onto the end of the terminal here, where there's a slot carved to accommodate a belt, which would then be riveted on. There wasn't any strap end or anything like that associated with the burial. There's actually quite a lot of Viking Age burials where they don't have strap ends, it's just the buckle. So strap ends aren't universal at all times. So what else can we say about this? I think one thing I'd say about it is you very often hear people with the assumption that because it's made of bone is a cheaper material and metal, therefore this is a lower status item. That's not really strictly speaking true. There are a lot of very, very highly skilled pieces of work, including belt buckles and strap ends, that are made of things like bone, that are actually a lot more labour intensive than something like something made of copper alloy. So this, for example, takes me longer than, say, a similar sized, similar shaped copper alloy buckle. There's a lot more grunt work involved on this, and like the original, it is finished off quite nicely, and that's kind of like what usually dictates value, is like how nicely something's executed, and also, you know, whether there's a demand for it is the big thing that determines it. But by no means is this like a poor person's belt buckle, even though there was nothing else in the burial. It's roughly equivalent of a lot of the other kind of things that you'd find in the early medieval Dublin, or elsewhere in the Viking world. Now, I mentioned this loaf bit at the end, and that's because this seems to be what you call a skeomorph, which is a posh archaeological way of saying they're copying something made from another material. In this case, it's probably copying or taking design features from something that's made out of copper alloy. And in this case, we've got a parallel, which is this fella from just across the Irish Sea. So this is an unfinished reproduction of a buckle from Workington. And there's another close parallel up in Lewis, and another one from Oldham near Edinburgh, which used to be in the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Northumbria. And as you can see, the buckle plate on this does have that same sort of lobed shape, if I can get the camera to focus. So there we go, lovely golden lane lobed belt buckle. Yeah, I don't really have anything else really to say about this. Like I say, I make these, there'll be plenty of these hopefully still for York. I've just finished off a batch of about 4 of these. They are quite popular, so I'll be at the York Viking Festival with these fellas. If you've got any questions about them, anything that you want to know about them, or any of the other things that I make, feel free to pop them in the comments, and I'll try and stay on top of them and answer them as quickly as possible. So I hope you have a lovely rest of day. Hopefully it's less rainy where you are than where I am in Bonnie, Scotland. And we'll see you later. Take care, Godspeed and God bless.